Today, we're diving into a story that sounds like it's straight out of a Hollywood blockbuster. A high-tech naval battle that was over in just 15 minutes, but could have shattered the entire global economy. Let's get right into it. Okay, so picture this. It's 3:24 in the morning, pitch black, and you're in the Strait of Hormuz, probably the most tense and critical waterway on the planet. I mean, something like 20% of the entire world's oil supply flows through this one narrow choke point. And tonight, the USS Abraham Lincoln is sitting right in the middle of it, a real powder keg. And then, boom, the night just shatters. On board the Lincoln, the Aegis radar system doesn't just pick up a blip. The screen explodes. It's a storm of 47 hostile targets, all screaming across the water towards them at nearly the speed of sound. Now, we're not talking about a conventional attack here. This is a swarm. It's a terrifying mix of deadly cruise missiles and souped-up commercial drones. It's a modern warfare tactic, and it's designed to do one thing: completely overwhelm even the most sophisticated defense systems in the world. The team in the Combat Direction Center has exactly 94 seconds to react. That's it. 94 seconds before that swarm is right on top of them. You can just imagine the tension in that room is absolutely off the charts. And the stakes here are just astronomical. This isn't just about protecting a multi-billion-dollar warship and its crew. It's about stopping a disaster that would send shockwaves through the global economy. If they fail, you and I could see gas prices double by the time the sun comes up. So that brings us to the first part of this breakdown, the enemy's game plan. And this wasn't some high-tech, state-sponsored attack. The source material calls it a poor man's apocalypse, and it was built on cleverness and a bit of digital rebellion. Now, this is the part that is just wild. The Houthi rebels took regular, off-the-shelf commercial drones, slapped 50-kilogram warheads on them, and then used cheap AI to basically jailbreak their software, letting them get around things like GPS restrictions. You're literally talking about a $1,000 hack going up against a $13 billion U.S. Navy carrier strike group. But the first major challenge for the fleet wasn't just about firepower. It was something much trickier. They were fighting a war of digital ghosts, because the enemy was using the environment itself as a weapon. So here's the tactic, and it's brilliant in a terrifying way. The drones flew incredibly close to these massive 300-meter-long oil tankers. So on the Aegis radar screens, these deadly weapons just vanished. They blended right in with the harmless commercial ships, turning a crystal-clear tactical map into a chaotic, messy blur. This puts the commander in an impossible position. How in the world do you sort friend from foe in that digital mess? One mistake, firing on a civilian tanker by accident, and you've got a massive international incident on your hands. And the clock is still ticking. The solution was all about teamwork. You had an E-2D Hawkeye aircraft flying high above, its giant radar dome linking every sensor in the fleet into one brain. At the same time, F-35 fighter jets just ignored the radar chaos. Instead, they used their infrared sensors to lock onto the tiny heat signatures of the drone engines. And just like that, they cut through the noise, stripping away the ghosts one by one, until only the 47 real threats remained. Okay, so they've got a clean picture. Problem solved, right? Nope. That first wave was just the bait. Now came the main event, a full-blown electronic assault. Imagine being in that command center, and suddenly this deafening electronic scream rips through every single system. The Aegis display, the $12 billion brain of the entire fleet, doesn't just flicker. It goes completely white, a solid wall of static. In an instant, they were blind and deaf. So, what do you do now? You can't see a thing. But you know that somewhere out there in that electronic blizzard, 18 missiles are still screaming toward you at over 700 miles per hour. The USS Lincoln, this 100,000-ton Titan, is basically swinging blindly in a dark room full of knives. This is where the EA-18G Growler comes in. This plane is the ultimate electronic predator. It launches this incredibly powerful and targeted electronic counterattack, blasting the enemy jammers. And instantly, the electronic screaming stopped. The Growler basically put a pair of noise-canceling headphones on the entire fleet, giving them their sights back. So they can see again. Crisis averted? Not even close. The battle was far from over. Several of the fastest threats had already punched through the outer defenses, and now it was a desperate last-ditch fight right at the ship's edge. But what's so wild is that there were actually two wars happening at the same time. You had this loud, fast, explosive battle raging in the sky, but underneath the waves, a completely silent, slow, and surgical hunt was going on. Iranian-supplied midget submarines were trying to sneak in for a kill shot, but they were being hunted by an American Virginia-class submarine, an apex predator that took them out before they even knew what hit them.
Back up in the air, the Navy uses what's called a layered defense. Think of it like a castle's walls. The long-range missiles are the outer wall, the medium range is the inner wall. Well, they took out most of the threats. But now, the final 6, the fastest and smartest ones, have blown right past the first 2 layers. They're hugging the waves, trying to stay under the radar.
And that's when the call goes out over the ship's comms, the one nobody ever wants to hear. Prepare for impact. That's not a drill. That's the command admitting they're out of tactical options. A hit is coming. The sailors on deck literally lie flat, bracing themselves for the explosion. This is the moment for the absolute last resort, the failsafe, the Phalanx CIWS. Its nickname is R2-D2 with a machine gun, and honestly, that's pretty accurate. It's a completely automated, self-aware robot with a massive Vulcan cannon. It is the final line of defense. And the firepower here it's just mind-bending. The Phalanx whips around to face the threat and just unleashes a storm of fire at 4,500 rounds per minute. At that speed, you're not even really shooting bullets anymore. You're projecting a solid wall of tungsten, a steel laser designed to simply obliterate anything in its path. And it works. The Phalanx shreds the final drone just 150 meters from hitting the ship. The entire attack, from start to finish, lasted 15 minutes. But the story isn't over, not by a long shot. Now comes the aftermath, and the absolutely overwhelming response. Just look at how fast this all happens. They get the last drone at 3:42 a.m. Just 14 minutes later, the counter-strike order is given. And in the next 4 minutes, Tomahawk missiles, P-8 Poseidon aircraft, and satellites coordinate to completely wipe the enemy's infrastructure off the map. 3 months of their preparation gone, in less time than it takes to make coffee. So, all this leaves us with one final big question. When you really think about it, what saved the USS Abraham Lincoln that night? Was it the incredible automated technology, that robot firing 4,500 rounds a minute without human intervention? Or was it the years of training and the ice-cold composure of the human operators who refused to crack under unimaginable pressure? It's a question that really gets to the heart of what modern warfare is all about.